it's Count C. That's right. And they call me what? The Rock City Reject. This is for my city. This is for my boys. This is for my people. Representing RochesterRap.com. We go. I'm an outcast.
Right now we're walking through Manhattan Square Park in Rochester, New York, and great man once said, nothing says Rochester like Manhattan Square Park, so figured this would be a perfect place to start off talking about, you know, who I am, what I've been doing. And honestly, I've been trying to wrestle all my life. I watched Brian do it from afar because, I mean, he was never around when I was a kid. So, I mean, I saw him do it a couple times, and then me and my little brother, if you look back in time, you'll see Nate Ashton Emanon pop up. And it's actually my little brother. We used to watch wrestling every Saturday, like New Millennium, stuff like that. We'd see people like Tiger Smith, JC Money on there, and we'd always pretend to do it, beat up each other. It's good times. But started wrestling around 2004, and I started training around 2004, and it was a good time. We wrestled at a it was like a dojo. It was Williams Martial Arts. It was about 2004, August of 2004, actually.
Gentlemen, thank you for coming today. We're in for a wild day of events out here with some wrestlers that have come from parts unknown to mankind. But in any event, it's going to be a very exciting day here.
And me and Nate went down there. He actually found the place, and he's like, "You got to come down here and check this place out." Went down there, and that's when I met Tiger Smith, and he's like, "You really want to train?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I've watched you do it. I saw JC Money do it, and JC Money's small like me, so there's hope." And from there on, it's just, we trained, we worked hard.
September 11th, 2004, it was me and my brother, Nate Ashton Emanon. We got there, and we were so new that the announcers didn't even know who we were. They had us backwards the whole entire match. They'd say Nate was in the ring, it was really me. They'd say I was in the ring, it was really Nate. It was our debut match. We got put in the ring with, well, the biggest heels in Rochester, the Underworld Cartel, Tiger Smith and Robert Ezekiel. When it came down to that match, we were so young, so new. We didn't work well together, but we did our best to try and give as much heart as we could, and it just wasn't enough.
When I started training back in 2004, I went down there, and the first thing I was told was, "Hey man, wrestling's not for everybody. If you don't make it, you know, it happens. If you do make it, congrats, this is something not everybody can do." And I remember the day after I took my first bump, I went home and I laid in bed pretty much for the rest of the day, just because, I mean, you're repeatedly getting knocked down, and you have to get back up, and you get knocked down again. You got to get right back up, and it's not something that, you know, your body's used to doing. That's why when people say you're taking your first bumps, it's like learning how to walk. And I mean, the training was tough, but I mean, it wouldn't be training if it wasn't tough. So it's just
NEW Underground. It was episode 3. Nate Ashton had just left, and well, that's when they brought in my older brother Brian. I'd seen Brian wrestle before. Brian does exactly everything I've always wanted to do. He flies, he's quick, he's extremely talented. Growing up, I always wanted to be like Brian, so it was, you know, all the better when I called him up and he actually showed up to help me out.
I'm finally getting a shot for the World Heavyweight Championship, and my dreams have finally come true. See, Nate, he's gone, he's in rehab, and, well, there's a lot of things I've been thinking about lately. You know, it's a lumberjack match, and I need somebody to watch my back. Should have made this call a while ago. You should be here soon. Man, I'm getting worried about this lumberjack match. I mean, Super Beast, he's what, 350 pounds? I'm like a quarter of that, weighing in at 130. Hopefully he gets here soon. I need somebody to watch my back. Dude, what's up, bro? What's up, man? Dude, I got a lumberjack match for the World Heavyweight Championship tonight.
You got this, bro. I got your back. Nothing's gonna happen to you. You're all set, man. I'm back for good, man. Injuries all healed up.
That's
ready
awesome.
to go.
That's awesome, man.
Let's get this on, brother. Let's get it on.
Super Beast, you better be watching your back for this match, because more families back. The Emanons are back
Little
together.
bro's got you.
back in the old dojo where we first started training back at Williams Martial Arts. We started off. We didn't even have an actual wrestling ring. It was a boxing ring, and it wasn't made to be bumped in and to be thrown around in. But when you did get thrown around in it, it was painful. I mean, I remember I think it was. I'm almost positive it was Tiger when he said, you're going to spend a lot of your time in training perfecting your craft. And he said it, as long as I knew him, you're always perfecting your craft. You're always making yourself better. And in training, I mean, we were, taking clotheslines. And I remember getting hit with my first clothesline. I laid there on the ground, and you just got knocked onto your ground, and you just don't know what happened, and your body's not used to it. It's just, it's tough. And I honestly, looking back, to this day, I don't know how me or Nate both made it through that thing. It was tough. This right here is the beginning of Legal Wall, and it's a place that I come really just to free my mind. I mean, it's all artwork from, just kids expressing themselves, and the way they do it, and it's kind of like how, me and Brian express ourselves with wrestling. They're expressing it through their art form, and I mean, I totally can connect with that, and it's just phenomenal. I mean, you got stuff like this, people putting names, all the colors that clash, it's just, it goes all the way around too. That's the best part. There's so much. This is Legal Wall. So around 2006, I'm pretty sure it was like early 2006, the Emanons, well, at least my mom and my dad, we ran into some financial trouble, and I had to stop training, which was terrible for me. I mean, I loved being in that ring so much that it's like taking away, your child. It's, it was heartbreaking, and
not only that, but NEW actually became a licensed school, so you actually had to be 18 years of age to train there. And I remember I looked at Tiger and I was like, I will be back when I'm turning 18. This is my dream. This is what I want to do, and I'm not going to let anything get in the way of that. So I actually I put wrestling aside for, I think it was about 2 years, and I graduated from high school, graduated with honors. I ended up going to college. Went for graphic design, and the day I turned 18, I remember I went down to the school, I checked it out, and this is actually when we moved out to our new training school in Gates, and we went over there, and I remember I went, knocked on the door, nobody was there, so I thought, they'd moved and I'd lost contact with everybody. So we put it all aside, and I was just like, wrestling's done then. I guess, I got to start focusing on life itself. And about 2 months later, I ended up, I just had this, gut feeling. I was like, I got to go back one night. I got to see what's going on. And I ended up going back on a Tuesday night. And I'll never forget, I pulled up in my car and I parked, and the big garage door was open, and you could just hear people in that ring, and just that sound right there was all the motivation I needed to get back into it. So it was tough. It was very, very tough to hear it and know that you got to start all over, and you had to start from stage one and rebuild and re-get all your, the big momentum you have in wrestling when you start is you're learning everything like that. It's back and forth, and without that momentum and having to start all over, you gotta get that ball rolling again. And it was so tough to do it, but I ended up doing it, and it was the first time I'd seen Brian, and I mean, that's my own brother. It was the first time I'd seen him in almost 2.5 years since I stopped training, and it was good to see him again, but it hurt because, I mean, it's family. And when you're losing your family because you can't see them, and the only time you got to see him was at wrestling, it just tears your heart out. So my first match back in NEW, and all that time from when I had left for school till when I came back and finally met up with Brian for the first time in a couple years. It was actually in the Main Street Armory, and it was me and Gorilla Rob, and we were part of the Junior Spot Monkeys, which was what Brian was doing when I was gone. And we were facing Blast from the Past, Freddie Midnight, and Tony Zuko. And I remember at one point during that match, it was awesome. Gorilla Rob actually picked me up above his head and used me to throw me onto Zuko. And we ended up getting cheated out of that win by a roll-up. But it was really good to be back. All our family was there, mom and dad, little sister, little brother, all that. They were all there, and it was really cool for them to see me and Brian actually back together for the first time, and as long as they could remember. But that was my first match in NEW. I had another tag match out in Buffalo in OSPW, and I wrestled in an 8-man out there. I don't remember exactly who was there. I know Curtis Lee Walker was in it, Chance Taylor was in it, Billy Fox was in it. I think the Davidsons were in it too. They were in our opponents' corners. And I actually had, about a week after that, I had a match out in UW out in Geneva against Din Mock. And I almost won that one. I was so close to winning that one. And missed the Swanton, got a finisher, and it was game over from there. But I mean, it just felt good to be back in front of the crowd, and to be with my brother again, and start working on that relationship we had. So. This right here is Village Gate. It's pretty much the center of all art in Rochester. If you're in a band, you're an artist, somewhat, you just come here. This is the place to be. You got all these local owned shops. You got the stores right here. It's vintage clothing.
the center of an artist's music. You know, like I said, it's definitely the place to be. I love it here. Just stuff like that inside, just the way everything's designed, the way it is, it's just, it's definitely, like I said, the center of everything. Best thing to do to this guy? His nose.
So, when the Spot Monkeys thing ran its course, and, you know, it was fun. It was fun. It, you know, we got to throw bananas at people, you know, the whole 9 yards, but, after it ran its course, you know, I looked at Brian and I'm like, we got to do our thing. We got to get back together. We got to start, you know, being the Emanon boys again. And, so we started doing our thing again, and it was fun. Brian said, you know, we're here kicking asses for the masses, and I'm like, all right, dude. You know, it's business as usual, business like it used to be. And you know, we ran the tag division for a long while. We ended up losing the belts. And, Brian ended up winning a tournament to go for any title he wanted in NEW, and you know, I ran out after he won and, you know, celebrated, and he's like, I know what title we're going to go for. And right there, I looked at him and I told him from the bottom of my heart, I'm like, Brian, we had our run, but it's time to do our thing. You know, it's time for you to do what you're meant to do. You go do your thing, and I'm going to do mine. That's what we did. We did ours. That's what he's doing. He's doing his. So, I mean, I can't be more proud of him. He's my older brother, and I wouldn't have it any other way. That's definitely my part of the album, and don't look at this as being the closing of the album, because it's definitely not. There's definitely going to be much more after this, I hope. But this is my part. This is you, watching it all, watching it grow.